All right, so we're here with Professor Jan Baum. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Happy to be talking to you. Thank you for making some time for us. So Jan Baum is Professor of Entrepreneurship here at Towson, and she's also the Director of the Entrepreneurship Minor, and she's been involved with the entrepreneurship community for quite a number of years, and I'll let Jen fill in the rest.
Oh, what do you want me to say?
Anything else about yourself that I missed?
I guess I would say for students, right?
Yeah.
That I definitely feel like I'm an entrepreneur / innovator trapped in an educator's body. Right?
Okay.
Right. So I love like probably the through line when I look back at my life and my professional career is creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have an imagination and I can see solutions.
Yeah.
And once I see a solution, it's hard for me not to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think in management we call this continuous improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this skill set or trait really flows interdisciplinarily throughout many disciplines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I started out in the arts. And so that's just kind of like, I just like, had this feeling and I was like, oh, I want to communicate this, like the desire to communicate, right? And then creating these objects, right? And then that just kind of led, I'm also very curious. And that's another like key trait of entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're always like, why is that like that? Oh, that's cool. And sometimes it's a little like squirrel, right? Like we're looking all over the place.
Yeah.
But that's another huge trait and something that, so like my parents were recently visiting and my dad's like, you have so many books. And I'm like, I'm very curious,
Yeah.
So I'll pause there.
No, that's fantastic. Can you tell me about your career journey? Because I know it's quite interesting, and how it led you to this position.
Yeah, so I'll try to do a short version, right? So it's not too boring, but people can Google, right? Google's out there. So I definitely started in the arts, and I have my terminal degree is in metalworking, right? So I kind of joke today that I can take iron ore or sterling silver, like in its raw form, or gold, and I can create whatever you want out of it. You want a ring, you want a teapot, you want a sculpture, like, right? Anything like that. And then, but I'm also an educator, and that happened really early on when I was in graduate school. One of the ways that this is good for students, one of the ways that you can kind of pay for or subsidize your graduate education is by teaching. And so I definitely was raising my hand. I'm not someone with a silver spoon, right? So I always worked my way through everything. And that's when the people overseeing the graduate assistantships in my graduate degree, they were like, oh, you're a natural. So as soon as I arrived, I started teaching. They were like, teaching. And they would throw anything at me. Like, I was like, why am I teaching color theory? Because I'm not a color theory expert, right?
Yeah.
But they knew I would figure it out, right? And then I realized that the best part of my day was teaching, because the entire world would melt away.
Yeah.
I was in that flow state. I just loved working with people and teaching and helping them kind of get it and execute their vision. And so then when I was done graduate school, they were like they always say, and I don't know, it might be different in management, but they say in the arts, there's so few teaching jobs, you're not going to get one. So what's your plan, right? And they drill it into you. But I was that one, that was that half of 1% that went from graduate school to teaching. So I started teaching on the West Coast. And I would also recommend that. I mean, you're from Ukraine. And I think moving around the world and experiencing different geographic locations is so hugely influential in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Not rather than staying in this one little thing. But so that's the other thing, curiosity. I was born and raised in a small town, and it made me nuts because everybody was in my business and telling me what to do, and I'm just I'm not telling you what to do. What the hell?
Yeah.
So I taught on the West Coast for 6 years, and then I got the job at Towson. And I was hired at Towson as a program director to revive a program that was left for dead. And so kind of what you see is what you get, right? And so some students, when they see me, they're intimidated because I'm this ball of energy. But I'm always like scratching my head about that because I'm like, but I'm for you.
Yeah.
Right? And so I very successfully resurrected the metalworking program over in the College of Fine Arts. And my undergraduate students were published in books.
Wow.
They went to international graduate programs, right, that I knew about. And I was like, I traveled to Holland. And I'm like, I want to check out what the hot spot of Dutch design is, because that's like the epitome. And I want that for my students, right? And then I sent them there, and it was hard, but they did it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of success there. And we also built a new building, built a facility. Again, I think that we do so many tasks that students are not aware of, or
for sure,
things are thrown at us all the time, and you either figure it out or you don't. And I think that's what's great about an entrepreneurial mindset, or I attribute that capacity or ability in part to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, right? I get to build a new facility for my program. Cool, I'll figure that out, right? So I say, as an entrepreneur, opportunity comes to everybody. But when there's a knock on the door, do you say, oh, bad timing, I can't possibly? Or do you lean in and say, okay, what do I have to do, right?
Yeah.
So after all of that, after my first 6 years or 7 years at Towson, I was eligible for a sabbatical. Sabbatical for students is when professors in good standing, they've been very productive, they get to take time out of their teaching schedule for research. And so what I did is I created classes that are part of this curriculum in the minor and in entrepreneurship. I started over there when I was in the Center for the Arts. So I was like, cool, I've been heads down working. What's happening in the world? Kind of popping your head up out of a trench, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, social design, that's so cool. Social, what we now call social entrepreneurship, so cool. Built a class, researched it, built a class. 3D printing, what is this technology? Oh my God, I learn about it. I can see how it's going to influence my students' skill, my students' professional lives. So I go, oh my God, we need this. Build a new program called object design. And developed a whole digital curriculum, and then built a 3D printing and additive manufacturing lab, which exists to this day over in the Center for the Arts.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And then I was frustrated with education, higher education, because this is a bureaucratic institution, and it is follow the steps. At the same time, America celebrates entrepreneurs. We're like, oh, but what we need you to do is stay in the boundaries and do all this bureaucracy. And entrepreneurs are like, I want to jump off a cliff. That's not how we work, right? So by the time I created that lab, I was frustrated with higher education. So I made my ties with the business community. And I said, hey, do you guys know about this? No one did. This could help you. So we became the Object Lab became the mouthpiece for this technology. So at our opening for that lab, Sasha, the line was down the hallway.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And I networked it with everybody. So networking is huge, right? And so in that room were the federal bases, the Army was there. The Army Research Lab, Material Lab was there, right? All these people I had networked with. Manufacturing was there. And then I created a internship program. So business could come pitch my internship students about how they might use this technology or a problem that they had, and could 3D printing and additive manufacturing solve that problem. And if we thought it could, then those students applied their digital skill set to solving real world problems across industries. I thought that was like for an art student to be I now have this skill set and this means to make a living, and it's up to me. I was like, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's unheard of almost.
The universe is sit in this box, stay in this box. And I'm like, why would, that's outmoded. And I was reaching across campus. So we reached out to anthropology, and they were like, oh my God, can you scan and 3D print replicas of this artifact that we have? We're like, sure can. So we're so excited about this technology and what it can do to advance disciplines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Academic, business, whatever. And so I was like, let's make this a business unit for the university. And the university doesn't know what to do with that.
Mm.
So industry got frustrated and they said, Jan, do what you just did here, but do it out here for business and entrepreneurs and the business ecosystem. And I was like, okay. So I got a 2-year leave of absence and a $500,000 grant to replicate what I did at Towson for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the play. It was a county executive, so political aspirations. So he was planning to run for governor. And what he did is he took these resources and he seeded like 3 very entrepreneurial programs that when and if he got to the governor position, he would pull all of these leading edge ideas up to the state for the state's advantage.
Mm.
So when I got out there, I built the lab, pulled all the experts across the state together, pulled in all of our expert users, like collided them with each other, right? Connected them, like, hey, we have this technology, we own this tech, like we have the Army and all the Army resources. That means the highest level printers in existence, right? And that knowledge, let's connect it, right? And so it was super, super fun. And it became a leadership initiative for the state. So then I started working with the Department of Economic Development. And that poobah saying, hey, do you know, let me take you to the aerospace industry. Let me put these people around the table so you, state economic development, can see what we have here. Suddenly fielding calls from Huntsville, Alabama, where the aerospace industry, I'm trained as an artist.
Yeah.
Like, how does this happen, right? But I guess never did I say, like, I just was like, this is cool, let's do this. This is cool, let's do this. Oh my God, right? I just kept going, right? But then politics came into play, and at the end of that 2 years, that county executive did not win the race for governor.
Mm.
And the way that politics goes, very partisan. They were like, it smells like that county executive, we're not interested.
Yeah.
So here I am in a limbo. Now, Baltimore City had just had the Freddie Gray issue and riots at the time. And that's like what the nation saw was Baltimore burning with riots, right? And then all the media bias that goes with that, right?
Yeah.
And so Baltimore City also said to me, why is this in Howard County? And I said, because Howard County put up the money to create the project, but this should be, in my opinion, in Baltimore City.
Yeah.
Let's put this in the visitor center, which is a glass-sided building in the Inner Harbor. That's the narrative for Baltimore City, not we're rioting and burning the city, but hey, we've got this leading edge initiative, which we're getting national attention for from like Fortune magazine, right?
Yeah.
Let's put that down there and let's make that our bailiwick. But, and I don't know how much your students know, how much you're gonna have to teach them, the boys club is alive and well. And so the boys club was like, we can't have a girl come in here and do this. So I'm in a little bit of limbo. And one of the previous deans of CBE she had known me for a long time. I've been at Towson 25 years this year. So she's known me for a long time. And she said, you come over here and stand up entrepreneurship for us, because you're an entrepreneur. I've watched you build things repeatedly after you've been here on your own initiative, up against the barriers of higher education puts in your way. You're great in the classroom, students love you. You can interface with the business community and you can navigate and deal with academia. And that's how I came to join the College of Business and Economics and run the university-wide entrepreneurship minor. And that's a minor for anyone at Towson University. It doesn't have to be, your idea can be in any discipline. Okay, I'm gonna pause because boy, I'm like talking fast and a lot.
No, thank you, Jen. Well, first of all, I knew you had an exciting background, but I actually didn't expect all of that. So that just goes to show you, we work with people, we interact with them every day, but there's so many things about them that we don't know.
Yeah.
And no, I think it's very relevant to the discussion because you don't just teach it, you've done it yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that initiative that you worked on for 2 years, was there anything tangible that came out of that?
Yes and no. So the tangibles, which were so exciting, and this is again, like I loved that project and I loved working on it. So we're now dealing with manufacturers and we're actually dealing with companies that serve the defense industry. Okay, so very proprietary, very confidential, and I would have engineers come into my lab. And so I had a whole beautiful lab in Howard County, right? I don't know how, we had a lot of machines, we had a lot of software, we had a lot of expertise, right? So somebody would just have to come in and say, I need to create this thing. Or they would say, I have this digital file, can you 3D print that? And they were very gruff. They were these engineers who were like dealing with defense, right? And we would be like, well, let's take a look, right? So we'd take the file, we'd upload it to the computer, we'd look at it, and we'd be like, yeah, this is a printable file. And they go, and then they would say, or they'd come and they go, can you print this, and can you do it within 24 hours? Now, anyone who's an entrepreneur, I think, likes a challenge. So we were like, can we prove to you that this technology can solve your problems? Me and my team were like, game on, right?
Yeah.
So we would turn around these 3D prototypes in 24 hours. And what happened was those engineers then became friendly. And they would say to me, I have been advocating for my company to use this technology. I know about the technology, but the higher ups don't. I was putting white paper after white paper. I was talking to them. And this is like a managing engineer. This is not a low-level engineer, not someone right out of school, right? This is someone who knows the business and knows what the business model is and how it works. We're not getting buy-in. And during that, and I don't know what, maybe like it took us maybe 6 months to set up the lab, and then another 1.5 years we ran it, right? So maybe it was like 6 months in, but we went from higher ups that were like, no, we're not using the technology, no, we're not, to those, as soon as we started turning around those prototypes, they turned on a dime. And now what they would say before they were going to run something in a limited production run is they said, did you prototype it first? Did you print it first? Did you print it first? So it totally turned around. And what the hinge point was, we proved the business model. We saved them like a $70,000 production run because we printed it. We found a flaw. We tweaked it. And if we didn't tweak it, the only other way to do that was to do the production run.
Yeah.
And have however many units that didn't work, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's tangible outcome, right? So that's just one that I especially love. But I love it when they come in and they're all gruff, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, who are you, little lady? It's kind of like that, you know what I mean? Like, and can you do it? And we're like, yeah, we can. They're like, okay, can you do it in 24 hours? It's like, yeah, you can. And then we became their trusted partner, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's such a high, you know? Like, it's such
sure.
and then they stopped using us, which is perfect because they bought their own machine. That's the direction of creating a leadership initiative for this technology, for the state, means that now you're going to develop that behind your closed door.
Yeah.
Right? So
I think that's kind of the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? You start with something small and then people take it to the next level in terms of what they do and the impact that is going to have.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly the role of government, right? I think that Ken Allman was the county executive who funded it. And I don't know how many visionary politicians that we have, right? But when you have a wealthy county like Howard County and you have resources to do that, to me, that's what our politicians should be doing. They should be leading us to that blue ocean. They should be leading us not to like the red ocean where it's blood infested waters because everyone's doing the same thing, right? We want to go where there's no blood and we want to chart those blue waters so that the state, the country continue to excel, progress, right?
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful, beautiful stories there, Jen. Thank you for enlightening us.
More than you needed
It's
to know.
amazing.
Wanted to know.
No, that's awesome. So let me just start out by asking, how do you define entrepreneurship?
Good question. I think it's someone who can see solutions and acts on those solutions. So in entrepreneurship, we have a saying, ideas are worthless. So people have, like if you're human and you're a healthy human being, healthy human beings have ideas all day long, right? Think about little kids, like that age they get to where they're so annoying, they're like, why, right?
Yeah.
So there's all this research by Warren Berger, who has tracked like how many questions, when kids get to that why stage, how many questions we naturally ask a day, right? And then the parents and the caregivers and the families like, stop with all the questions. And we slowly drive that out, right?
Yeah.
So ideas are worthless, but an entrepreneur is someone who has an idea and takes action on behalf of that idea. That's what I would say in a nutshell.
So from my understanding, what entrepreneurship has changed maybe over the past 10 years, right? It used to be kind of a career in itself. You're an entrepreneur, that's kind of like your job title, your identity. But now it seems that it's become more liberalized, more democratized, where so many other people, whether it's their side gig or a part-time job, are also now starting to play a part in entrepreneurship.
Good point. Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. And I mean, we have a word for it called intrapreneurship. And actually, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm like, I can't get out of this higher ed box because I love teaching, right? I love spreading the love. I love spreading the ideas. So I can't get out of the box, but I bang my head against the wall constantly because we could do it this way, we could do it this way. Like, let's make it better, right? So innovating within an existing system, intrapreneur. So whether it's a side gig, your main gig, you're part of a team, like your finance and you're working on for a startup, right? Your marketing working for, like there's a million things that go into a startup. And any number of people kind of come together to make that happen, you know what I mean? But I think to be human is to be creative.
Yeah.
Right? And so I really believe like most people have this ability to be an entrepreneur.
No, I love that because you can be involved in entrepreneurship in so many ways without needing to start your own business. So I think it just opens. I mean, it sounds like to me that is a great venue for someone who has these ideas and kind of the scope of ways in which they can explore those.
Yeah. And what we try to do here, especially in the minor, because it's 6 classes, right? And I work with dancers, and I have a lot of psychology students who come into my classes. I have a lot of art students. I have a lot of exercise. I work with a lot of people. And my job is to help you with your passion and help you figure out how to chart that course according to what you want to have happen. And I think that's a huge, like, why wouldn't everybody want to be an entrepreneurship minor?
How does entrepreneurship fit with this new model of multi-stage careers? So the idea that throughout our lifetime, it used to be that we would just work for one organization or stay in one type of career for our whole lives. And now they're saying there's going to be many changes, disruptions, going from one industry, from one type of work to another.
It's such a great question. And I have to say, your students are so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thinking on their behalf and doing innovative things like this. It's not about me, but like having you asking people. And this is the course, like that's phenomenal. So kudos to you for doing that. Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's a great question. Most entrepreneurs or most successful entrepreneurs are usually like in their 40s. Okay. They go out there and they do jobs. They learn about the work world, right, before they jump in. Not everybody, and I do not subscribe to any kind of formula, right? Like I've had students in entrepreneurship that have stopped their degree, have never completed their degree here at Towson, and have gone out and started their gig, and they're successful. That's not everybody. That's going to be a small percentage, right? But the other thing about that, so you can become an entrepreneur at any point, right? there's no rules about it. It just depends on you and what your life looks like, what your life allows for, what skills and abilities you have. Are you ready to fly really early? Do you take a little bit longer to incubate? You know what I mean? But the other great example of when entrepreneurship kind of can come up and be helpful was in COVID.
Yeah.
So in my classes, it's a little scary, maybe edit this part out. I don't really care if the class is a 100 level or a 400 level. I see a able-bodied being who is here to learn. So we do like simple business models in my 100 level classes, right? Because it's appropriate. Like anybody can learn how to fill out a worksheet, right? Like I can teach anyone how to do that. During COVID, some of our alumni had those business models tucked in their back pocket. And when everything shut down, they pulled that business model out and started a business.
Yeah,
that's crazy, right? And so like one example is Maris Linsau. Her idea was she's Filipino, her family's Filipino, and her business idea was a Filipino bakery. So she had 2 siblings. They live in Silver Spring, and during COVID, her dad got cancer.
Oh wow!
Awful. Everybody came home, and so her sister in the hospitality industry didn't have a job, shut down, right? So they all were there, and Maris was like, "Let's do this." Because then we're home, we're taking care of our dad, but we can also, and they started a business. Now, I'm a huge supporter, and I would also say to students, your Towson faculty are such huge resources. Or I should say Towson faculty, Towson alumni love Towson students. Huge opportunity. So my parents were visiting me during COVID, and we drove down to Silver Spring to pick up my order. From the bakery.
Yeah.
Like, why would we not? Like, here we are in this terrible condition, but every single person makes a difference. Every single order, and it's a boost to the student. For the faculty to be like, hey, I still support you. I support you at this level, and this level, and this level. So you can't ever tell, and you can't ever know when you're going to know it. I also say entrepreneurial skills are life skills. So how to think, how to act, how to network, how to organize. All these skills that we pack into entrepreneurship are life skills. And then when you look how it unpacked during COVID, a former professor, Professor Schwab, and I did a partnership with the Greater Baltimore Committee about how COVID impacted women.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and again, women who are primary caretakers opened businesses at an unprecedented rate because they had to. They had to figure out how to make money and care for their families. So it will come anytime someone needs it. And you and I know, because we're adults, that life is unpredictable.
Yeah.
You do not know what is going to happen. You're sailing along and something comes your way and you either rise or sink.
Yeah.
And we want everyone to rise, right? And we want to give everyone the skills to rise. And that's where these things can come in handy.
And I would say it's not just about career, it's about who you are as a person and the self-esteem, right? It's a totally different person who goes for it and makes it, or person who doesn't and then regrets it, or it's who you are as a person, I feel.
I agree. And I think some of it can be taught. Like if the students think about their trajectory in college, right? Like who you guys are when you come in is not who you are year 2, year 3, year 4, right? This is a time of great personal growth, and that's a good thing. So I think we all have at some points probably limited ideas about what we can or can't do.
Yeah. Right?
And when I first got to Towson, one of the history professors was talking to a new group of faculty, and he said, our jobs as faculty are to remove the limits of what our students think they can do. That's the point of a liberal arts education, to show them you've been this person to this date, but here's the world, right? So I would just encourage students to take all the opportunities that you can while you're here. Even if you take an entrepreneurship class and you go, oh, it's not for me, no harm, no foul. I guarantee you'll learn something. It's 11 o'clock. I gotta go to class.
Okay, so we'll continue with Jen. I just want to say, take that approach to that, I'm teaching management, I'm teaching business, but at the end of the day, it's about how you think.
Absolutely.
So I am totally on board with that. All right, we're going to let Jen go to class, and
Peace
we'll
out.
continue when she's all done. We're now back. Jen, thank you for joining us after your long day.
Happy to be here. Still happy to be here.
You're always happy to be here, which I love. So just wanted to follow up from earlier. So we discussed earlier, you mentioned that you've seen all kinds of people become entrepreneurs, but it was more prevalent among those in their 40s. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I think I would guess that it's because they have some life experience.
Yeah.
So they kind of know how the world works, how businesses work, etc. That they're a little more stable in their lives. So I bet they have some income, right? So financial stability.
Yeah.
Versus like when you're first starting out, you're just like trying to like get a salary and then like increase your salary. And you might make some purchases, things like that. So I think it's probably because there's some stability in their lives. That's probably what I'm thinking. That's like research, It's like that piece of research that we quote.
So I know entrepreneurial mindset is big in this space. How does someone develop that, or is it just something that you're born with, or you're not born with?
You join the entrepreneurship concentration or the minor. There's a big debate, like, is it something that you're born with or can you learn it? There's a lot of educators that think that you can learn it, right? So it's a pretty complicated or pretty, involved thing, right? So my answer is going to be, there's so many factors. So what I notice about students today is they don't really like interacting in public or in the classroom. But my classes are all about interaction, right? And being out there in the field, like talking to end users, being comfortable. So the way that I teach it and try to unlock it in students is to create a very relaxed, even informal classroom, right? So we always sit in a circle. There's no digital devices at all. And we look at each other and we have conversation. We almost always start out classes with some kind of exercise. And it is usually goofy or silly because you have to start to take risks. And that's a risk for a student, right? If they're not extroverted and comfortable with themselves. So like they show up for this class and they don't know the professor, they don't know anybody else in the class. And now they're asked to do something silly. I do it, I start. So I do it by example, right? And then they end up loving it. So one that we do is this name game. And it's just like starts out with your name and everybody goes around and says it, then everybody has to say everybody's name all together, right? Until we get to know each other's names. But that's hard to remember. And so it has several layers to it. And at the end, everyone says the name of an animal that starts with the same letter as their first name, and then an action that animal would make. So mine is always Jaguar Jam. And it's funny and silly, but everyone remembers it, right? So I'll be walking down the hall, like, hey, Jaguar Jam. And it works on all levels, right? So the community engagement that I do, we do it there. And it breaks down the formality of, you're the professor, I have to be some kind of way with you. Because what I want them to do is access the right side of their brain, that creative side, right? That risk-taking side. So my classroom environment looks very different. And if they're all sitting there rigid, sometimes we have a dance party, and I'm sure people walking by is like, what is happening?
Let me know what time I'll pass by to check it out.
3:10, I'll tell you my teaching schedule. And the people that share walls with us are like, what is going on, right? And then early on when I started teaching in this college, I was across from the dean's office, and they were like, oh my God, we could totally hear your class laughing the entire time, right? And so it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we laugh in education? Why are we so buttoned up? Like, we're learning, right? Like, why can't we access that human part, right? So I think it's a matter of unlocking and giving students permission. But like our creativity, like Sir Ken Robinson, he's from the UK. His research is all about the age level and the grade level that creativity gets pushed down, and then our whole, like the developed world, the developed countries, like that, the research shows that creativity is pushed out by 4th grade. And everyone's just about getting the right answer. Their high test score, the right answer, right? And that's book smart, but that's not entrepreneurship. So I do think that we can teach it, but part of it is really working with the student on a very personal level to unlock it, right? But you have to go first, right? You have to be in there with them. And even then, sometimes they don't want to do it, but they genuinely love it, even though they're still uncomfortable. So it's helping the students to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Which is when they're entrepreneur, something that's going to be their experience.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And how do they then talk to people? So right, this part of the semester, we do testing. So all semester they've been working on their entrepreneurial ideas and startups, and now they have to create a very simple version of their product. And right now, this week and next week, they're across campus in real time, putting their idea out there and getting people's feedback to it, right? And so hopefully I've developed enough confidence in them that they're like, oh, okay, I can do this. And actually, they're like, when I go watch them on campus, they're actually loving it. So, success, I guess.
That's amazing. Yeah. So this is the Idea Fest, right?
No, Idea Fest.
This
is just testing, right? So Idea Fest was our big event like 2 weeks ago. So they presented their idea to at roundtables to subject matter experts. There's a poster competition, there was networking, and then we also spotlighted different students that are entrepreneurs. And so that's Idea Fest, but now they're testing. So now it's like, okay, that was like maybe dipping their toe in the water, like getting up, but now they're actually like, for 2 hours at a time, they're across campus, like set up somewhere, showing their idea and getting feedback. And they're not selling, they're saying, hey, here's this problem, here's a solution that we've come up to, what do you think?
Yeah.
Right? And getting that feedback, so.
Yeah, you guys do a lot.
Maybe too much.
So if someone is interested in becoming an entrepreneur, or there's an idea they're excited about, how would you advise them to start?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are so many resources out there nationwide, right? So if you are like in your 40s and you're not wanting to do an academic program of study, look up entrepreneurship ecosystems wherever you are, wherever you're going to be. And there's always going to be resources, right? So in Baltimore City, there's an organization called Upsurge, and they are working together to build Baltimore City into a tech hub, right? So helping the economic development of Baltimore City through this particular model. So obviously if you can do academia, that's great. There are small business resource centers all over, state level, like local level, state level. And any kind of workforce development is probably going to have some kind of entrepreneurship resources available. But then there's also these really cool things called accelerators. Accelerator is a concentrated program, anywhere from maybe like 2 months to 6 months. And so startups apply to get into an accelerator. If they're granted access, generally they get a certain amount of money for following a program, which could be like customer discovery and marketing and some kind of pitch competition, right? So it's you apply to get into this program, you follow a program, learning skills and putting your startup through the paces, And if you complete that, then you get that money. And it can be anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000. It's just how economic development around the country works. There's a lot of accelerators in this country, but it's not just this country, they're worldwide. And then there's another kind of accelerator. One is called Techstars. Another one is called Y Combinator. I can't keep track of like all the formats that this has like spun off in, but it's basically a similar thing where you get selected and then you work with a group of peers and you are all like building at the same time. And usually there's like some big entrepreneur at the head of that. So Paul Graham is the founder who's behind Y Combinator. I believe that's California based. Techstars started I think in Colorado, but there's a lot of Techstar platforms around the country. So there's actually a lot of ways you can get started. It doesn't have to be academic per se. I think that entrepreneurship ecosystems are really welcoming, right? You're like hanging out with like-minded people, and people generally want to help each other. So Maryland has huge ecosystems, like a huge ecosystem. Maryland also has this organization called TEDCO. It's an acronym. I believe it's Technology and Economic Development Corporation for the state. There are opportunities there like Launch Fund Nexus, which is an internship opportunity. So if you're an entrepreneurship student, you get paired with a startup and you help them launch a startup. So you kind of see how it gets done while you're learning, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like venture capital, like there's all kinds of things. In Maryland, one of those umbrellas is TEDCO. So, but there's lots of on-ramps.
That's really encouraging.
It is. People want this, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the types of roles that your students pursued or landed after graduation?
Good question. So at IdeaFest, we had our kind of keynote speaker was a alum. I think she might have graduated 6 years ago. She did go on to get a graduate degree, I think, in project management. But while she was a student, she created a student-run cafe in the College of Business and Economics. And actually, the entrepreneurship program has won awards for that student project.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
So there's really no food source in this building.
Yes, I remember that job there.
Yeah. And so that's really great. And then, so that's kind of where Reddit is her name, Reddit Hale. That's where she started. And then she created a tech business where she helps government agencies with their, I think it's their service contracts. And she kind of, I think it might be software based. Oh, I'm going to do a really bad job of this. It's called Regal One, RIGEL One. And it's a service for government and making their systems run more smoothly, something like that. So that's one example, right? And then she also loves Towson, and so she's actually come back and she's now part of the department as an adjunct professor.
That's awesome.
So that's a great one.
Yeah.
One of our another alumni, and I don't know what the time frame is. As an undergraduate, he and another undergraduate student from Johns Hopkins, they were passionate about entrepreneurship, and so they created this nonprofit that brought entrepreneurship students from across the state together. And these were two powerhouse undergrads, and they had this vision, and they tapped a few of us, and we became their board of directors, steering them. Everything they touched was gold. Now they worked their butts off, like they worked so hard. But one of those people, her name was Paula LaPere. It's a big story there, no time to go on to here. It's a tragic story. But she spun up a couple other companies, and she passed away a couple years ago. And now there's the Paula LaPere Innovation Showcase. And I think up to 5 students can win $50,000 a year. Yeah. So Paula's, what started as a nonprofit, now became like a, well, it's still a nonprofit, but it's a showcase supporting student entrepreneurs. There's just some that come to my mind, but there's a lot of our entrepreneurs that are out there with their businesses.
Are there any who are working more in companies in the entrepreneurial roles?
That's really hard to track. It's really hard to track them, right? So like this semester I have 65 students. Next semester I'll have like another 65 or 75, right? And then you times that by years and years and years, and it's really hard to keep up with them.
25 years,
right?
yeah, I can imagine.
It's so hard to keep up with them with best intentions, right? So it is one of the things I think that most educational institutions do not do well, and that is tracking our students. So stay in touch with your professors, for real, right? So that's something that like, it's easier to track them if they stand something up on their own, right? This one is harder to track, so I don't know what the numbers are.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about AI? Do you think it's going to lower the barriers, make it easier to be an entrepreneur, or do you see it as creating more competition?
Mm-hmm. I'm generally pro.
Mm-hmm.
Generally pro new technologies. I see it just like the 3D printing, right? It's going to take away some jobs, but it's going to create ease in another area. So I just see it as like is it zero-sum game? Like I see it as it comes out even however we slice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are going to use it in non-creative ways, and they might get to a business model faster, but I don't know that it'll be competitive. Until AI can be creative, I don't think there's much to worry about. I think if you're going to clamber down the same road as everybody else, use it in the exact same way, I don't think there's any advantage there. Students are using it right now, so they actually they have to create this minimal viable product. And they go, I don't know what to do. And they look at me and I go, I don't have the answer, it's your product, right? Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And we obviously talk about options, but this one kid and his partner, they drew like a storyboard of their app, and they fed it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave them graphics back, and it looked great. And they sheepishly, when they were talking about it in class, they were looking over their shoulder, and I'm like, I'm pro artificial intelligence people, like, but they feel like it's cheating. But yeah, they had the idea, they just asked it to render it for them. Like, I don't see that as cheating per se, right? There's lots of tools that can do that, like that, you know what I mean? And maybe, I don't know, AI may not even be the best one. But now we have a company, we had an entrepreneur create a business where you could talk to a computer, and you can tell it what app you want it to develop, and it will develop the app for you. Okay? An entrepreneur came up with this idea. 6 months later, Wix bought it. Wix is a big, I would say, DIY platform, right? You can build websites for that, right? 6 months later, Wix bought it, and I tried to get Wix to come and demo it at Idea Fest for the students, right? And give them credits to play with the new product. It's so impactful for Wix that they're doing reorg and they could not accommodate us, right? We're not putting the genie back in the bottle. So how do we leverage it to make us competitive? That's my attitude on it. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. Are there any questions students ask that we haven't asked yet?
That students ask?
Yeah, that you think would be helpful.
That's a tough question. Probably. They've probably asked me a million questions and I don't track them, right? Or I answer them and I move on. I would say one of the most important things for student entrepreneurs is to be active, be action oriented, right? Like, don't be afraid of people stealing your idea. Don't be afraid of losing control of it. Like, get it out there, road test it, right? Get it out there and see how it does, right? Because students they get so protective of their idea and people not taking it. If someone's going to want to take your idea, they're going to take your idea. I'm not saying don't protect yourself, but you know, unless you're super wealthy, someone's going to have deeper pockets. And if they're that kind of person, they're probably going to. But I tell my students not to worry about it. Like, come up with the next great idea.
Anything else that you think we should know before we end our conversation here?
No, not necessarily, but I do think, like, I hope that the students will ask you questions, right? Like, what haven't we covered? what questions does this conversation bring up to you? And that will help us with the next learning module, the next video chat session, right?
Yep, and we will be sure to do that.
Nice job.
Thank you so much. No, thank you. Oh, awesome job always.
You're too kind.
Which is what?
You're too kind.
Oh, I thought there's two kinds of awesome.
No, there's just one. Be awesome.